The Great CEO Reshuffle. What is happening with car bosses right at the top of the car industry? Something big is happening at the very top of the car industry. And it's not flashy, it's not exciting, and it's definitely not being shouted about much. But Car Magazine calls it the Great CEO Reshuffle. And 2025 really has been a year of corporate musical chairs. In just a few months, some of the most high profile, big personality car bosses have left, been pushed out, or quietly replaced. And the most important detail is this: the replacements all look very similar. So Car Magazine says the ones chosen to replace them are all about preventing disruption, not creating it. That single sentence tells you pretty much everything you need to know about where the car industry actually is right now and where it might be going. So I tell you what, let me give you all the details right after this.
A brown car guy. Brown car guy.
We're going from rock stars to risk managers. So this all comes from a fascinating article in Car Magazine by Nick Gibbs. And he says that in recent months, some of the more flamboyant and rule-busting CEOs have been ousted or left of their own accord. The ones chosen to replace them are all about preventing disruption, not creating it. Let's run through some of the names that we're talking about here. At Stellantis, Carlos Tavares is out. Antonio Filosa is in. At Renault, Luca De Meo exits stage left and Francois Provost steps up. At Volvo, Jim Rowan is replaced by a returning Hakan Samuelsson. At Nissan, Makoto Uchida-san hands over to Ivan Espinosa. At JLR, Adrian Mardell is about to be replaced by PB Balaji. And at Porsche, Michael Leiters takes the CEO role after Oliver Bloom's dual job running both Porsche and Volkswagen Group came under pressure. Now, here's the key point. Carr notes that every one of those new bosses has been promoted from within. No outsiders, no Silicon Valley imports, no tech visionaries parachuted in with big ideas and bigger PowerPoint decks. As the article puts it, executive committees right now are picking dependable generals from within their ranks. In plain English, the industry has stopped looking for revolutionaries. It wants adults in the room. Why now? Because the optimism of 2021 is dead. Carr reminds us that just a few years ago, EVs, software, direct sales, and Tesla-inspired thinking were meant to juice the balance sheets. Instead, the industry discovered something rather awkward. Tesla, it transpired, was a terrible role model in many ways.
Tesla was a terrible role model.
That's a quote. This is a devastating line. The promises were huge. Software generated billions. EVs replaced combustion engine cars almost overnight. China was an endless profit machine. None of it quite worked out like the spreadsheets said it would. Andrew Bergbaum from Alex Partners sums up the mood perfectly.
I don't think any of the CEOs are comfortable. They're dealing with multiple fires.
Multiple fires, it seems, is right. Tariffs, if you have a US footprint, plummeting market share in China, stagnant European sales, and Chinese manufacturers arriving faster, cheaper, and better prepared than anyone ever expected. This is not a growth phase, this is survival mode. The article also explains that the world has split into three. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the video or finding it useful. If you are, don't forget to hit like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. And you know what? Support independent channels like mine. You can do that at patreon.com, coffee.com, or right here on YouTube by taking out a voluntary subscription. Or, you know what? Even better, I've got 3 books out at the moment. The first is Ulysses Files. It's an all-action thriller novel. It's a lot of fun. Had great reviews on Amazon. The second is a compilation of 13 stories I've written over 20 years, ranging from cars, sci-fi, and the human condition. A brilliant read, I've been told. And the third book is How to Do What I Do, How to Be an Automotive Content Creator. All of these are on Amazon. Go check them out. I would appreciate it if you buy one. One of the most revealing sections of the article comes from Volvo. So Hakan Samuelsson admits the global market has fragmented so badly that Volvo is now effectively building 3 different cars for 3 different worlds. One for the US, one for Europe, and one for China. He describes it as creating much more empowered regions, which is, I think, polite executive language for globalization is over. And that alone does ring alarm bells. When a premium brand openly admits it cannot build one car for the world anymore, you know the old model must be broken. Stellantis, Nissan, and the EV climb down. So the article gives us two perfect case studies in how strategies are being quietly reversed. At Stellantis, Antonio Filosa is described as the anti-Tavares. Carr explains that while Tavares went all in on the 2021 Dare Forward plan with wild promises like 20 billion euros of software-generated revenues by 2030, Filosa is now axing the more buoyant predictions and reviving cancelled or delayed US launches. Translation? Reality has arrived. At Nissan, Ivan Espinosa has the opposite problem. Too many cars, not enough buyers. His response was brutal and rather honest. 7 of 17 plants closed globally and 11,000 job cuts. His reasoning is brutally simple.
Our fixed costs are higher than our current revenue can support.
Don't forget Nissan was looking for a new buyer not long ago. That sentence alone tells you why no one is chasing moonshot ideas anymore. Even Porsche is not immune. Giveaway time, guys. Those incredible guys at Veloci Books sent me these books and I've decided I'm going to give them away. All you have to do is head over to browncarguy.com where you'll see a page there giving you an entry form to win these books. And all you have to tell me is which one you want and why you want it, and then I'll put you into a draw and maybe you'll get one of them. This is only for December 2025, so hurry up. Carr points out that China's sudden lack of appetite for European premium cars is partly to blame for Porsche's wobble. Oliver Bloom himself warned staff.
The business model, which has served us well for many decades, no longer works in its current form.
This is extraordinary coming from a boss at Porsche. Meanwhile, at JLR, Jaguar Land Rover, the appointment of P.B. Balaji is described by Professor David Bailey as a harbinger of tighter Tata financial control as the firm enters choppy waters around the shift to EVs, Trump tariffs, etc. This is not the language of expansion. This is the language of caution. And it makes complete sense when you look at where JLR actually is right now. The company has enjoyed a rare spell of strong profits driven largely by high-margin Range Rovers and Defenders, but those profits are being squeezed from every direction. EV investment costs are soaring, global demand is becoming more unpredictable, and political risk, especially around US trade policy, is a real thing. Add in the recent cyber attack and suddenly cash discipline matters more than brand ambition. Appointing a Tata Group finance heavyweight is a clear signal that the priority is protecting margins, controlling spending, and making sure that JLR does not overextend itself at exactly the wrong moment. In other words, this is not about dreaming bigger, it is about keeping the ship steady while the weather turns. It does make you wonder where that leaves the previously publicized more flamboyant and to some a rather alienating direction that was being touted for Jaguar. So what does this all mean for you as a car buyer in 2026? This is the bit that really matters to us, right? Well, first, fewer wild bets. Car companies are going to stop forcing cars onto the market just to tick regulatory or investor boxes. Expect fewer half-baked EVs and more delayed launches while they work harder to get things right. Second, more choice, not less. Carr highlights the contradiction that's facing CEOs. Cut costs while offering EVs, hybrids, and combustion cars. That means powertrain diversity is not going away anytime soon. Third, more discounts and incentives. To push volume, brands will quietly soften pricing, especially on EVs sitting on forecourts. And good news for buyers with some patience. Fourth, slower but smarter change. Development cycles are being shortened, like Renault's Twingo EV has been developed in just 21 months, for example. But the emphasis is now speed with purpose, not speed for headlines. And finally, less preaching. With political uncertainty and the possibility of a future rollback of environmental targets, manufacturers are hedging their bets. You are likely to see less lecturing, but more listening. The big takeaway? Well, Gibbs ends the piece with a brilliant line. Good job, they are paid well. Because the new Automotive CEO rulebook is frankly full of very difficult contradictions. Make more profit, sell more cars, cut costs, offer everything, move faster, take fewer risks.
How am I supposed to do this? Well, at least the money is good.
Blimey. For buyers, this reset sounds like good news. The industry has stopped chasing fantasies and started dealing with reality. And when car companies focus on building cars that people actually want and can afford, I guess everybody wins. And so it turns out boring CEOs can be very good news indeed. Hit like, share, and subscribe, and let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. I'll catch you all in the next video. Good news, guys. Check out all of these amazing books from Veloci Publishing. You know what? I've got you 30% off exclusively on these and more. All you have to do is head over to veloci.co.uk, choose the book you want. In fact, here's the list. Screen grab this now. When you get to the checkout page, just enter the code BCG30 and instantly get 30% off these and more. Shout out time, guys. Thank you so much. Hey, if you enjoy my content, why not get involved? Buy me a coffee. You can do that at either of these links. Or if you're watching on YouTube, buy me a thanks or take out a membership. It all helps. It really does.